Hey guys, John T. Hickmet here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to answer a very common question I get from people who start practicing this work. The question is, won't allowing emotions make them worse? Or surely if I allow anxiety, catastrophizing thoughts, fear, despair, rage, guilt, whatever it is, surely that's going to overwhelm me or make my symptoms worse? Now, before we begin, I just want to say something important. I'm very aware that each one of the questions I'm going to answer in this video could honestly be a full video in itself. There are lots of layers and nuances to this work, and I'll probably make separate videos on many of these topics in the future because there's always more depth that can be explored. At the same time, I don't want this whole approach to feel overly complicated or unapproachable. Yes, there are lots of questions that arise throughout this process, but really, this work comes down to a few simple things. Learning how to consistently allow more of your experience, learning how to stop fighting yourself internally all the time, having support, community guidance, and people around you that can help you navigate with what comes up. And then also time, just time spent practicing. At this point, I've pretty much heard every objection there is to this work. Usually we fear allowing emotions because we're afraid they'll last forever, overwhelm us, consume us, or somehow make things worse. But the really important thing to understand is that the parts of us that are afraid of those things are welcome as well. We learn how to notice the resistant parts of ourselves and allow those as well. And another thing I really want people to understand before we begin is that this process does not mean you have to allow emotions perfectly all day from now on. In fact, most people won't do that at all, especially in the beginning. A lot of the allowing work happens during dedicated meditation or journaling time. And then outside of that, you still get to live your life. Distract yourself, get support, watch Netflix, spend time with your friends, get into nature, rest, self-soothe, and take care of yourself. When allowing emotions feels too overwhelming, it's also completely okay to step back for a while. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is actually to stop trying so hard and just take care of yourself. I went through this myself while healing my own chronic symptoms. There were times where I needed to process emotions deeply, and there were other times where I just spent the week with friends, watching Netflix, resting, giving myself space. That is equally as important in this process as allowing itself. So this video is really intended to help you understand the common fears people have around allowing emotions, why those fears arise, how to work with those fears, and what this process practically looks like over time. Now, this question usually comes from people who have already started practicing acknowledging and allowing. If you haven't watched my other videos on allowing yet, definitely go and watch those first, because this video is more intended for people who have already started practicing this approach and are now running into resistance around it. You may be starting to notice very strong emotions and very strong thoughts throughout the day. You may feel fear in the body constantly or notice catastrophizing thoughts showing up over and over again. Naturally, part of you starts to panic and think, surely this can't be healthy. Surely allowing all this is going to make things worse. Surely emotions are the thing creating my symptoms. So in this video, I'm going to explain why that feels true for you right now, why that fear makes complete sense, and why when we properly understand how to allow emotions, that actually needn't be true at all. I'm going to answer this through a series of questions because there are lots of layers to this, and I really want people to understand what's actually happened when they start this work. So let's start with question number one. Question number one, why do people think allowing emotions will make them worse? Most people live almost entirely from the mind, meaning they experience themselves mainly through thoughts. Thoughts like, I'm never going to get better. This is terrible. Am I doing this wrong? Or what if this never ends? And when people have these thoughts, what are they usually taught to do? Reframe them. Think positive. Challenge them. Calm themselves down. Now, I completely understand why people do that, because these thoughts feel uncomfortable, irrational, and scary. Naturally, we want relief from them. We want to fix them and move on from them. But the problem is that while these thoughts are happening, something else is also happening at the same time. The body is reacting, the breath is reacting, emotions are arising, and most people are completely disconnected from all of that. Most people have spent their whole life trying to solve emotional experiences from the mind. They don't really know what an emotion feels like in the body because they've become so identified with their thoughts. So while they're trying to reframe or think positively, the nervous system is constantly learning something underneath all of that. It's learning, this emotion isn't safe for me to feel. This is incredibly important to understand because in any given moment, the mind and body is essentially asking, is it safe for us to feel this? And if your response every single time to fear, anger, sadness, shame, or anxiety arises is to immediately fix it, soothe it, push it away, the body learns that these emotions are dangerous. And over time, symptoms become a protective strategy because the nervous system has learnt that emotional energy itself is unsafe. That's question number one. Question number two, why does the mind and body even want me to allow these emotions in the first place? This is a really important question because people hear this work and think, okay, why would allowing fear or anger or grief actually help me? The reason is because symptoms are not random. Symptoms are not happening because emotions are bad. Symptoms are often happening because there is a constant movement away from ourselves happening internally. There's an ongoing movement of don't feel this, push this away, move on from this, fix this, control this. And over time, that creates disconnection from ourselves. And the body knows this. The body knows that only when we start allowing more of our experience will we reconnect to ourselves more deeply. One of the biggest outcomes from this work is clarity and intuition. And I know people hear that and think, how does allowing myself to feel fear or anger give me more clarity? But most people have spent their whole life trying to solve problems only from the mind. The logic they use to solve those problems is often built on fear, conditioning, survival, pleasing other people, or trying to live on other people's terms. So even when people think they're being logical, they're often making decisions from disconnected versions of themselves. That's why people repeat the same relationship patterns, the same career patterns, the same symptom loops, and the same emotional cycles over and over again. They're trying to create clarity through control. Real clarity comes through allowing. When you stop constantly interrupting your experience and trying to immediately control every feeling, space starts to emerge. And in that space, intuition starts to emerge naturally as well. This is why learning to connect to the body is so important. Intuition does not live in the thinking mind, it lives in the body. So that's question number two. I'll unpack all of these in other videos. Question number three, what's the difference between indulging emotions and embracing emotions? This is probably the most important distinction in the entire video. When I say allowing emotions, most people think I mean indulging in those emotions. But indulging and embracing emotions are completely different things. Indulging emotions means identifying with the emotions. It means believing that your thoughts and emotions are you. So if a thought says, this is terrible, you believe it. If fear arises, you think something dangerous must be happening. If anger arises, you identify as an angry person because we identify with thoughts and emotions. We naturally try and fix them, control them, soothe them, or reframe them. Indulging is very head-based. We stay trapped in the mind trying to solve emotions with more thinking. At the same time, there is usually a huge amount of resistance happening underneath the surface. People think they're allowing emotions, but they're subtly trying to move away from them constantly. They're trying to feel better, move on, complete the emotion, release the emotion, or get rid of it somehow. Embracing emotions is different. Embracing means learning not to identify with thoughts and learning how to connect instead to the emotional experience in the body. So instead of immediately trying to fix thoughts, we start asking, what is this thought doing in my body right now? We stop trying to solve the thoughts and start allowing the emotional charge underneath them in the body. This means thoughts can continue talking in the background while we stay connected to the body. It doesn't matter if the thoughts are irrational, catastrophic, angry, doubtful, or fearful. What matters is learning how to allow the emotional experience under those thoughts without immediately trying to control it or change it. This is where another really important point comes in. Fear also becomes welcome. Doubt becomes welcome. Resistance becomes welcome. The parts of you that think, this is too much, I'm doing this wrong, are also allowed in the body. And embracing means learning how to allow the allowing and the not allowing at the same time in the body rather than in the mind. That's question number three. Question number four, what if emotions overwhelm me or last forever? This is probably the biggest fear people have when they start this work. People think, surely I can't allow anxiety all day. Surely I can't allow despair or terror or rage. Won't this take over? Won't this become dangerous? And often, another fear people have is if I allow these thoughts and emotions, doesn't that mean I'm agreeing with them? But allowing does not mean agreeing. Allowing does not mean believing every thought that appears. Allowing simply means making space for what is already happening. It means embracing, not indulging. A huge part of this work is learning to separate the content of thoughts from the emotional experience in the body. Thoughts are temporary mind activity. The body is where we go instead. So even if thoughts are screaming, this is terrible, you're doing this wrong, we learn to ask, okay, But what is this feeling like in my body while this thought is happening? Very often what we find is it's feeling fear. Fear that emotions will overwhelm us. Fear that if we stop controlling ourselves, we'll spiral. Fear that if we allow emotion, it will last forever. But that fear itself becomes part of the practice. We learn to allow the fear as well. The important thing to understand is that emotions are not dangerous. Fear is not dangerous. Resistance is not dangerous. Doubt is not dangerous. We are trying to identify the problem inside of you and get rid of it. We are teaching the nervous system that all of these states are safe for us to experience. So if fear arises, doesn't matter how, we learn to feel safe in the fear. If resistance to fear comes up, we learn to feel safe in that. If frustration, after that, we can be with the frustration. If numbness appears after that, we learn it's safe to feel numbness. We stop trying to determine which emotions are correct, healing, spiritual or bad. We learn how to meet ourselves safely exactly where we are. Question 5. What about emotional release, completion or catharsis? This is another area where people can get really stuck. There are lots of words in the healing space about emotions needing to release or complete, and while those experiences can happen naturally, they can also become another form of control. Because people then start meditating with the mindset of, I need this emotion to release. I need something dramatic to happen. I need to complete this. But what that can easily become is tunnel vision again. It becomes another way of trying to force the experience to move somewhere else. Real allowing means learning how to be with emotions, whether they get bigger, smaller, stay the same, disappear, or return the next day. Sometimes emotions feel like they release completely, and then they come back 2 days later. If your goal was to permanently eliminate the emotion, then naturally you think you failed. You think, I've released this. So a lot of people hear words like completion or release, and then they start striving. They start grasping for some dramatic emotional experience because it feels like progress. But the irony is that that grasping in itself is another form of trying to control the experience instead of truly allowing it. Sometimes emotions will feel like they pass through you very intensely. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes you'll feel absolutely nothing during meditation. Sometimes you'll feel boredom for 20 minutes straight. Sometimes you'll feel fear every single day for a while. None of that means you're doing anything wrong. This is why meditation becomes so powerful, because meditation teaches us how to stop intellectualizing our experience and instead actually experience it. We stop trying to figure everything out from the mind all the time and instead start learning how to feel emotions through the body. And often what people begin to notice that emotions shift incredibly quickly when we stop interfering with them constantly. One thing comes up, then another thing, then another thing, then another thing. Fear may last 10 seconds, then frustration appears, then boredom, then doubt, then sadness, then hunger, then confusion, then back to the fear. The mind and body are constantly moving. Journaling can help people understand this really deeply as well, especially when journaling is done with absolutely no filter whatsoever. Not journaling properly, not trying to sound wise, just brain dumping honestly onto the page. You can start writing, I don't even want to journal. I don't understand the point of this. When am I going to get better? What if I'm one of the people that never gets better? You can journal all about that. This is really scaring me right now. I hate this. I hate that I hate this. What am I going to have for dinner later? You can just go in the exact direction that's coming up for you. Just letting everything come out exactly as it is without trying to organize it into something neat or spiritual or insightful. Because what people often discover through both meditation and journaling is that experience is constantly shifting. Things come and go very quickly when we stop trying to freeze them, analyze them, or control them. That's question number 5. Question number 6. Why on earth is meditation so difficult? Meditation is difficult because most of us were never taught how to actually be introspective. We were taught how to perform, achieve, produce, work, and think logically. We were taught to live externally. Meditation asks us to do the opposite. It asks us to slow down, go inward, and actually feel what's happening inside of us without trying to change it. Naturally, parts of us panic when we start doing that. Meditation can feel boring, confronting, frustrating, or even threatening at times. And unlike a lot of quick fix healing approaches, this work does not promise instant relief. It asks for a gradual shift in the entire relationship you have with yourself and with your emotions. So I never want people to feel weak or broken because they struggle to meditate consistently. I understand why this is difficult. Sitting quietly with yourself can feel incredibly confronting when you've spent your whole life distracting yourself, solving problems mentally, or trying to move away from discomfort. But at the same time, This is genuinely one of the most life-changing things you can commit to, not just for your symptoms, but for your entire life. Meditation slowly teaches you how to reconnect to yourself. It teaches you how to stop abandoning yourself every time discomfort appears. It's question number 6. Question number 7. Do I need to do this perfectly all day in everyday life, the allowing? Absolutely not. And this is a really important distinction to make. There's a difference between practicing this work during a dedicated meditation time and trying to do it perfectly throughout everyday life. Meditation is usually a much safer and easier environment to practice in because there are fewer distractions. You're intentionally creating space to go inward and notice what's happening. Everyday life is far more chaotic. You have conversations, responsibilities, work, stress, and constant external stimulation happening all at once. So if embracing emotions feel difficult at first, that's completely normal. You do not need to perfectly allow every emotion in real time throughout the entire day. That's something that develops gradually over time. You don't even need to be doing so to get better. In fact, when I was healing my own symptoms, most of my allowing happened during meditation. And then outside of that, I was just living my life. I wasn't walking around all day trying to perfectly allow every single feeling that appeared. Sometimes I distracted myself. Sometimes I watched Netflix. Sometimes I spent time with friends. Sometimes I just rested. It's really important because a lot of people hear these videos and they think, okay, from now on, I need to constantly allow everything all day long if I want to get better. No, that's not realistic. And honestly, it can become another form of pressure and perfectionism. I made another video called What to Do in a Moment of Pain, where I talk about 2 different approaches when we're in pain. One is being with what's here, and the other is self-soothing what's here. Both approaches can be valid depending on your nervous system's capacity in that exact moment. That's question number 7. Question number 8. What if embracing or allowing emotions feels too difficult for me right now? This work can feel incredibly confronting in the beginning and even in the middle stages. So if embracing emotions, allowing emotions feels too difficult sometimes, that does not mean you're failing. Sometimes the most regulated thing you can do is self-care. I keep saying it. Music, Netflix, nature, baths, spending time with safe people, changing environments, getting support, resting, slowing things down. Self-soothing is not failure. Self-care is not automatically avoidance. The goal of this work is not to force yourself to feel everything all at once. The goal is to slowly teach your mind and body more of your experience is safe. Capacity will then develop gradually over time. There are periods during my own healing where I went through really big life changes. I left a relationship, I left jobs, big emotions were surfacing, and there were times where trying to deeply allow everything actually felt too overwhelming. So instead, I allowed myself not to allow for a while. I rested, distracted myself, spent time with people. I gave myself space. That's equally as important in this process as the allowing itself. This work is not rigid. It's not about forcing yourself to sit in overwhelm constantly. It's about gradually increasing your capacity over time while treating yourself with compassion along the way. And you can still get better doing so. Question 9. What if thoughts feel like they're completely taking over? This is another huge fear people have. They think if I stop reframing my thoughts, I'll spiral. I won't function. I'll completely lose control. And honestly, it makes complete sense because most people have spent their whole life identifying with thoughts and trying to control them. So when they first stop reframing and start allowing thoughts to continue in the background while feeling the emotion in the body, it can feel destabilizing at first. This is why support and guidance become so important. I can explain the concepts in videos as much as I want, but nothing compares to actually practicing this with someone who can help point out what's happening for you in real time. The foundational process is the same for everyone. Learn to let thoughts continue, learn not to identify with them, learn to return attention to the body, and learn how to allow the emotional charge instead of immediately trying to control or analyze it. But the specific resistant parts that show up for each person can look very different. Some people go numb. Some people feel nothing. Some people get flooded with fearful thoughts. Some people constantly think they're doing it wrong. Some people stop entirely because the whole thing feels too complicated. None of those things are actual problems. But you often won't know that they're not problems unless someone helps guide you through what's happening in real time. A therapist, a mentor, or a guide can help you recognize what's arising for you in any given moment and teach you how to be with it. They can help you point out the subtleties and paradoxes of this process, the parts of you trying to allow, the parts of you resisting allowing, the parts of you afraid of resistance, the parts of you trying to get rid of fear. Mentors can help you with that. Also, a community can help hold you through the inevitable ups and downs of the process. Some people will be meditating consistently. Some people won't be meditating much at all right now. Some people are just getting back to life. Some people are in deep emotional processing. People are at different stages, and it's important to recognize that. Stage 1 of this process looks different to stage 2 or stage 3. Some people have supportive environments, some people don't. Some people like their work, some people feel trapped in it, some people have lots of emotional support around them, some people feel completely alone. Having a community reminds people that wherever you are in this process right now is also safe. That's question number 9. Question number 10, how do I actually practice all of this, John T? Practically speaking, this starts with learning how to let thoughts continue without immediately interrupting them. So if catastrophizing thoughts show up, instead of instantly reframing them, we let them continue in the background while we shift attention to the body. We ask, what are these thoughts doing in my body right now? Maybe there's fear, maybe there's tightness, heat, contraction, panic, numbness, nothing. Whatever it is, we start learning how to allow the emotional experience underneath the thoughts instead of constantly trying to solve the thoughts themselves. And if resistance shows up while we're doing this, that's okay too. If parts of you say this is too much, I'm doing this wrong, or this is going to last forever, those parts of you are also welcome as fear. That's the practice. Meditation becomes the training ground for this work. You may only get a few seconds of genuine allowing at first before getting distracted again. That's completely fine. Consistency matters much more than perfection. Over time, the nervous system slowly relearns that all of these experiences are safe to feel. In closing, before I finish this video, I want to share something personal. About 6 months into practicing this work myself, consistently, when I had pain, I had a moment where my symptoms suddenly became as strong as they had been months earlier. Immediately, thoughts came in saying, I've relapsed, everything's gone wrong, I failed. But instead of reacting to those thoughts, I noticed them. I felt the panic in my body. I allowed the fear. I even allowed the parts of me trying to rescue myself and fix everything. I embraced the full experience of what was happening instead of fighting it moment to moment. And before I knew it, the whole thing passed naturally. That experience 6 months in taught me something really important. Embracing emotions is completely different from indulging them. The thoughts can continue talking, but the body becomes the place we return to. So to come back to the original question in this video, will allowing emotions make them worse? No, not when we properly understand what allowing actually means. We are not trying to become fearless. We are not trying to eliminate resistance. We are not trying to become perfectly regulated human beings who never feel uncertainty, hopelessness, fear, frustration, rage, grief, or doubt again. We are teaching the nervous system all those states of being are safe for us to experience. This work can be very simple, but it's not easy. It takes practice, patience, consistency, support, and compassion. So please save this video, come back to it, keep practicing, ask me questions, and get support wherever you can. I promise you, this work changes far more than symptoms. It can change your relationship with yourself and with your entire life. That's the video. Like I said, any questions, please ask below on YouTube. If you're watching this in my community, please ask questions. Like I said, I probably could have gone into more detail in each of those questions, much more detail. As I said at the beginning, I don't want this whole thing to feel confusing. I know this video it's about 20 minutes long right now. I don't want, just because I'm answering lots of things and lots of nuances, I promise you the only thing you need to do is consistently allow, get yourself support, and learn how to meet yourself with what's there in any given moment and a bit of time. It's what you need. I'm answering all the nuances because these are common questions that come up, just to help you, the watcher, feel safer in what you're experiencing right now. Everyone thinks that allowing emotions is going to be overwhelm them or last forever or lead to more symptoms. But those parts of us, even though it may feel as if we want to reframe them, those parts of us is just experiencing a fear that we need to learn how to allow in that moment. And then before you know it, the thoughts will come and go. And then there'll be another thought which will bring with it another emotion. So learning how to drop into the body, however the body feels in that moment. Whether you feel lots in the body or you feel nothing in the body, learning how to be in each and every state of being, meeting yourself where you're at, is important. You don't have to do that the whole day. You can do it in your dedicated time in meditation. You can still get better just by doing it in your meditation. If you need one-on-one support, get one-on-one support. If you need community, I really, really highly think that you should get community in some way, I encourage it. But like I said, any questions, anything else, please ask me below because I'll create more videos about it. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Hopefully hear from you soon.